I just love the idea of whatever happens in life, you can just go to the cinema and completely get lost.
Prince Charles Cinema,
BFI South Bank,
Garden Cinema,
the Rio Theatre,
Genesis Cinema,
Pitch House Central.
the British Film Institute.
I feel very lucky to live in London, just in terms of access. Kind of take for granted living here, sort of the amount of films you can see, especially with classic films. I'm really into like older cinema, and we have so many cinemas in London that are dedicated to just that, which is so helpful for me. And even when it comes to independent cinema, I think that some of the smaller releases don't necessarily get shown outside London, so we're sort of very grateful to have that here. And I don't think I was sort of aware of that until I maybe left London and saw how much access was sort of taken away. I'm Jonathan Kirk. I'm the marketing manager here at the Ritzy Cinema in Brixton, and I've lived in London all of my life. It's strange in the sense that we're Pitch House owned by Cineworld, so you kind of have both sides of the coin there. You've got Cineworld that make the most of their money doing like the big Marvel movies and the big Disney releases, whereas when we show them here, they don't necessarily do as well. Our bread and butter is always the sort of mid-budget kind of art house kind of movie, like a Wes Anderson or someone like that. We cater to two very different audiences, and I think they both bring in profits in their own way. Obviously ours will probably be smaller, but our costs would be smaller as well. I think we've been able to maintain our independent spirit at Pitch House, even with the Cineworld connection.
If you have less of a budget, I've noticed people just put more passion, they put more work and drive into this, so like, there is like a beautiful detail in every single independent film because they don't have 100 million to cover up a mistake, and it's just them in their rawest form. It's just the rawest form of art I think you could actually get.
Cinema is a huge passion of mine, so basically all my life I've worked in different capacities in the cinema industry. So I climbed the ladder in different various roles. I'm a very technically minded person, so I worked as a projectionist for a long time, for small cinemas, bigger chains. I operated IMAX as well, worked on film festivals. But my heart was always independent cinemas. My name is Jylah Bah. I'm basically like a front of house manager in a Phoenix Cinema, East Finchley. The Phoenix Cinema is one of the oldest cinemas in the country. The first ever footage was there for the sinking of the Titanic, when people just watched the newsreel. So we have over 100 years of history, and throughout our history we never closed down. We survived 2 world wars, and the cinema was always open. We feel, and I personally feel, obliged and responsible to curate the best possible films for our audience. That it's not just about whether the film would be successful, it's more about creating a story. So certain stories we're looking forward to that's thought-provoking. We kind of know our target audience as well. We listen to what the locals want as well, and then we're curating our programming in a way that they that not only feeds the appetite for our local crowd as well, but how diverse can we, how inclusive could we. I found that a very closely knit community, that even though there are cinemas that so to speak, they may be, aiming for the same audience or a crowd in certain areas, there's an eagerness to provide the best quality content as well, and curate, the films the best way as possible.
I think I've been kind of constantly surprised at the extent to which the independent cinema scene in London kind of looks after each other. But obviously, when I look at our competitors, I do want to be doing better than them. But yeah, it's not ever been any ill will between any of them in my experience. We definitely reach out to each other, sort of troubleshoot issues together, and are quite generous with perks for each other's staff.
We want to support young filmmakers to, give them the platform to see their film on the big screen. And sometimes, it results, a nice festival run, like industry aficionados have a chance to come and showcase the talent.
It was just amazing. First time you see some of your work on the big screen, and that was just like a really, really nice buzz.
You have to really delve beneath the surface to get these amazing works of art. My name's Willem Sian Kids, so I work in events and stuff. I'm also a musician as well, and where I come from is Essex in England. It's just a little county outside of London. There was just better opportunities in London as well. I moved to London and it's like I've been given running positions and I've done like lots of extra work, and it's just like I've jumped into the ocean, you know what I mean? I was in a pond and I've jumped into the ocean. And I love it. I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't move to London.
My name's Nina Romaine and I work for Wright, a very, very small film company, indie Brit kind of horror-based film company. I live in London, and I guess you could say I've pretty much always been London. I was born in Oxford, and although I did grow up in quite a lot of different places, but probably a Londoner of about 24 years now. I came over here in the late 90s with one small backpack of clothing, and lived in what could be described politely as a bit of a flop house in Queensway.
I had a brief stint as a runner during lockdown. It was quite fun. It was for a adult kind of studio thing, but it was fun. I just enjoyed literally putting on my headphones, seeing all like the set get made and stuff like that, and then just running into the shops for people and like passing people water. And I know it's such a minute thing to do, but it made me really happy doing it, and every day felt productive.
I started working as a sporting artist, or extra as we used to say then, and I was like, you know, person in the crowd, person bus stop, and you sort of work for nothing, and you just kind of work as an extra. And then I started getting behind the camera, and I now work in continuity as a script supervisor, as an AD, a location manager, production assistant. It is quite tough to get your foot in the door, to get the first shoot, the first job. But once you're in, you work with people who really love film and are really passionate about it.
Independent cinema, there's a lot of passion in it, I've realised, because like some people, they're investing their lives into it, like their time, their passion, whereas like if you're a major fitter, say you're like, I don't know, LucasArts or something like that, it's a 9 to 5, whereas these people, they probably do have 9 to 5s while making these films, and just every bit of joy, their free time, they're just putting into it, and they make this film, you know, they make a cast, you know, it's all out of their own money, and everyone is just putting their 100% all in, you know, maybe big films told them no, whatever, and like, these are people just desperate, you know, they're literally just fighting for their career at this rate, and then the film's made, and then it's there, and you just see the passion. I'd rather watch, you know, a film with a £20 budget than a Marvel film with like a £20 million budget with like no passion.
Indie studios do a lot more with a lot less. Less people, less money, maybe less equipment, but you just make it all work harder. So it's all about innovation. Limited budget, limited people, you know, limited places where you can shoot, but it's just a matter of sort of mucking in and you know, helping each other out, which we do. The most surprising thing about the London film community is it's very cohesive. It's very kind of family orientated. People sort of work together, they stick together, they like working together. It's very resilient as well. Even during lockdown of 2020 to late 22, people were still trying to make films, even if it was just you and the only amount of people you're allowed to have outside wearing masks. We still tried to make films, and we made some really, really good films. I worked on a feature film, horror comedy called The Living Dead, and after we screened in Leicester Square in Cineworld, we then went and had a Q&A at the Prince Charles Cinema. You know, just sort of stood up and took questions on screen. After and just sort of talked about it and the making of it and what we enjoyed most, took questions to the audience.
So you see a lot of debut films playing in Phoenix. Sometimes if there's a possibility, we invite some of the filmmakers for the Q&A session as well. So they get to get engaged, they let their voice heard in a way, and then be able to reach out for the communities.
A recent good example would be Wright, when we did a couple of premieres here for that. We had a community day on the Saturday after it had come out, and that was just lovely. We had live music from Blue Lab Beats, we had the director and the actress here. Stuff like that really does feel like it kind of brings the community together, and it's always great to be a part of that. You know, a first-time filmmaker who lives locally, getting to really put her on such a pedestal and help her film do as well as it did meant a lot to us. And yeah, I think that would be the best example we have of a real local story that really became a bit of an international sensation. You have films like 1001 as well, starring Tiana Taylor, these are films that are like breakout successes from first-time directors. A lot of those kind of films come from like Sundance Film Festival as well. Those films perhaps need a bit of an extra push, and other cinema chains might not give them the time they deserve just because they've got bigger releases to focus on. But I feel like at the Ritzy, if films like that connect with our communities, we'll give them an extra helping hand and keep those films on a little longer.
Hi, my name is Jylah Wagner. The long form of that is Dr. Julia Ruth Wagner, and I am a film critic and lecturer. I really enjoy interacting with audiences and being part of that bridge between the film as an art form or as entertainment, where the audience are fairly passively receiving it, and operating in that space and making a film screening something else, making it an event, making it more accessible, and adding something that people don't really get just from watching. It's the opportunity to ask questions and for audiences to meet the people who are involved in the film.
I think the best memory I have is the Q&A we did for Oxide Ghosts, the Brass Eye tapes, which Brass Eye was like a TV show from about 20 years ago, and it was like some deleted scenes from that show. And we had the director here for that. And it was like a sold out screen one. Our screen one is like 350 seats. And like, it was quite intimidating to host that. But like the audience was so like into it. It's like quite a cult hit, and they knew all the quotes and like were very enthusiastic, and it made my job a lot easier because they made me laugh so much, and it just all flowed a lot more naturally than I maybe used to seeing Q&As go.
The odd questions that you get, you often get questions. I had a question about how many Satanists were involved in making this movie. You know, it was something that wasn't about Satanists at all. People come with their own stories and their own questions, and sometimes a public screening is just a way for people to express their views. I think that education's place is more prominent in the independent film community than the mainstream big distributors, partly because independent cinemas do see themselves as more part of the community, and they will service the community with activities or events targeted at different age groups. I've written the education pack for the Jewish Britain on Film release, which has got activities and thinking points for different age groups, so starting with children and up to adults as well.
In this city, you get to see so many different voices and cultures being, given the platform for people to see. Obviously, it comes with the territory that London is such a multicultural city, sort of like a melting pot. But the fact that you get to see Romanian, Korean, South American films and festivals and different kind of programming involved, that is always eye-opening for me, and it's great to see that every given week, when you look at the programming culturally across the city, you're always gonna find very interesting topics, sometimes very important topics that can provoke some certain thoughts as well and challenge people's thinking in certain ways. It's not just about showing films to the people. We need to educate, we have to give the platform for different cultures to be heard, to people have a different lens in life in general, and independent films are brilliant because they have this unique set, and they just also championing creative freedom.
What film is able to do is capture the moment, and you can watch again and again, and everything takes on the same value once it's on the screen. It's all got the same sort of representational value.
For me, it was always film something that always intrigued. It's an art form that you can learn a lot of things. Learning about a different culture, a different perspective or way of life.